Hey folks, I'm back here with our friend Puffin, and I'm gonna introduce the long line. There she is, rolling and stuff. She finds something and wants to roll in it pretty immediately. That's one of the issues that we're gonna work on. But I'm introducing the long line. The long line and a dropped leash basically are indicating the same thing. Now, if she gets rolling too much, I have not introduced the scold term, but this would be a great opportunity to introduce it. I always say I introduce the scold term apart from the obedience exercises, because I don't want her to equate the newness of the scold term with the newness of performing a task. I introduce it to something that if she never does ever again, not going to break my heart. Actually, it's going to benefit me. So this would be a great time to introduce the scold term, which would be your NO, followed through with the correction. A very different exercise than the leash work if you saw her leash work. So there she is going off. She's allowed to. She's dragging the leash. The scold term, and they're two different attitudes. The attitude of the scold, it takes the place of a dog's growl. When a dog growls at another dog, they're saying, hey, you're crossing my line of tolerance, you better back off. Where the leash work is, oh, I'm sorry, did you miss that I went the other way? So there's no scolding with the leash work. You just let the dog figure it out. Dogs live together, they figure out life together. Let's use our human intelligence and watch how dogs interact. And let's learn from them, and then in turn teach them. So hopefully you can get some of this so you can see she's allowed to wander off. I don't allow this to be held out like that. I allow it to drag. If I don't want her to go any further, I step on it. So here she's rolling around. I'm gonna let her, because she's so new to the leash work, and you saw all that attention she was giving me. I want her to know this is a different freedom, all right? So I'm gonna just let her, let's see how much she ends up rolling, and then maybe I will correct it. But I want her to have that sense of freedom, taking her eyes off of me. This is when the verbal commands start coming in. Yeah, she really likes to roll. Now, I'm not going to praise her for this because we're eventually going to correct her. I didn't bring a toy out. She likes squeak toys. I just wanted to see what she would do with this freedom, and boy, she just took off with it. Not going to call her name. That would be an empty command because I don't want to... Before I do start teaching the dog to come, I want the dog to know her scold term. You can see we're having some snow. We're supposed to have some rain. So I do expect to be inside today working with the scold term and introducing my introduction to the down. So I'm going to go with her. I see it wrapped on her back leg. I don't like my leashes wrapped on the leg. I know it's more fun to see the dog. Good girl. That's a good girl. That's a good girl. But I want to have her have this sense of freedom because we have the road right here. Yeah, I'm going to go get a toy. She's going to start pulling on the leash. Let me go get something for her. So I think I found some things that she'll like. Again, I don't gather the leash up in a knot. There you go. Good girl. Now I'll start telling her good. I understand she likes to play with balls. That a good girl. That a good girl. I gotta go get it myself. That a good girl. What's it? What's it? There you go. There you go. Good girl. Good girl. We'll eventually get her going on the flirt stick. Good girl. That a girl. The throwing the toy away, turning her back to me, is indicating to her when you're on the long line, you can turn your back to me. I have 2 leashes on her. I have the short leash and I have the long line. At any point, if I go to work with her with the short leash, I pick it up, I say her name. I let her know I have it in my hands. Notice how I handle the long line. It doesn't handle it in a manner where she's really paying attention to it. So I want it to kind of disappear for her. But if I were to handle the short leash, I pick it up right in front of her. I say her name, Puffin. She doesn't know, but how do they learn? By being exposed. Puffin. I move out of her line of vision. Look at that already. I like that. I'm going to do a little bit. She doesn't have to follow. She turns her eyes away from me. She's going to get that. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Atta good girl. Atta good girl. She says, hey, let's play. I want to go play with those toys. That internal frustration of that bark. The bossiness showing up. She's a very bossy little girl. So a little bit more distraction here. Throw the leash, clap the hands, go get the toy, pick up the end of your other leash, throw it away, and she just learned some of my things that I'm expecting to teach her and my expectations of her. When the leash is out of my hands, you're allowed to have the sense of freedom. That leash is in my hands, you pay attention. If you haven't seen my video with Sam, the golden doodle, just really defines what a dog can truly learn with that leash being held and being dropped. So she likes this toy. What a good girl. Good girl. Atta girl. Yeah, go get it. I don't want to be stepping on it if I'm going to throw it. We'll work with an out. Look at you. Yeah, atta good girl. I talk about playing my dogs into obedience. We started out with a play time. Initially, I didn't get it on video. What a good girl. The first day she came. Look at you. Look at you. I'm going to try to get away here. There we go. Get it. Atta good girl. Atta good girl. Yay for Puffin. Yay for Puffin. All right, so there was an introduction to the long line. No cars came because I was hoping a car would come. All right, a little bit more with Puffin later. God bless. Just as I turned the camera off, I heard a car coming, so I quickly turned it back on. I liked the response.